Hello there, it is I, your Red Daddy. Today, I shall teach you, the viewer, how to become and how to play as an insectoid in RimWorld. How you can build your own colony and ultimately turn the entire world into your very own hive, just as I'm doing in my recent Insectoid series, if you're interested in that. Let's get started. So, to begin, I just want to show you guys, a lot of people are always asking me, like, how did I set up this scenario? I'm very lazy. I'm so sorry. I'm so lazy. I don't have scenarios. I do, but they're really old. Like, these are from, like, 2023. You know, I don't really use them. I have a bunch of, like, really goofy ones. I don't really use them. I will use the one-person one, and all this is the crash-landed one. You could use this, and I just remove, like, everything, and I only start with one person when I'm setting these up. I mean, that's literally all it is. Very lazy of me, but this is how I do it. Almost forgot to mention, too. So I'm using the mod list that you can actually find there on my Hive series that I'm doing, and the reason I'm using this one, and the reason I'm mentioning this, is because it actually has the Insectoids 2, which is going to give you a lot stronger and a lot larger insects, and it's also going to give you a lot of the hive pieces. It'll be in the video description, of course. We have the Milkable Queen, we have a few other things, we have the entire list here. Feel free to use this if you like. A lot of this you're going to have to use if you're going to be doing this, as I'm doing it, because you have to have your bugs being sentient and what have you, and also you have to have all of the constructible hive pieces. Nothing really matters. You can generate your planet as normal if you so choose to do that, however you like it, whatever you want to have set up. We're basically just going to be starting, and it doesn't really matter all that much. So you'll see we have our singular colonist starting here. Now before we end up destroying this colonist, you'll want to select them, and you'll want to come down here to Character Editor. Now you can also do this with just Dev mode, but I find it easier to do it in Character Editor. Go to Inventory, come down to Inventory Plus, because you're going to be adding something to the inventory, and you can actually choose whichever type of insectoid you'd like to be. We'll take a look and see exactly as to what we have here. I think it should be under pawns, or would it be, no, it's under animals, sorry. Yes, so we have acid spitters. You can also choose here the specific mod you want. So for example, Insectoids 2 is right here. If we want to choose from this lineup, we could do that. Like for example, what I've done in my playthrough is chosen an Empress who is going to be starting with us. Of course, you'll want to change this over to male, or female, sorry, it starts as a male. And you can actually just spawn her, and you'll notice that here she is, right? She's right here. Now we have an Empress. We could just start the colony right now if we really wanted to. Or, if you don't want to start with an actual Empress, because, I mean, that is a little outlandish, right? You could start as a damn Royal Spillipede, you could start as Titan Ticks, any of these that you so choose. You could also start as some of the core ones. A Hive Queen, I think, would be a good starting point for most people's colonies. You can also choose the age, the faction, of course, but we want them to be part of our faction. So now we have a Hive Queen, right? We have an Empress, we have a Hive Queen. Now, the Hive Queen does not have, you'll see down here on the UI, there's nothing like she's going to be laying eggs on her own or anything, unfortunately. The Empress, on the other hand, can do that, and she will do that, and you can actually choose, I believe, yes, she can actually have different types of children, Royal Spillipedes, Royal Mega Spiders, anything and everything, essentially, and she does this automatically every 3 days. That's why it's great to start with an Empress. A Hive Queen, also great, completely fine. The only thing is she's not going to be spawning in her own children. It's a lot easier if you have these other insectoids spawning in every few days. That way they can help you work and stuff. If you just wanted to spawn in, say, as I did in my series with Mega Spider, who happens to be the main character and the husband of the Empress, you can also do that. Or in this case, let's say, for example, we just want to do the Hive Queen, we can do that as well. So we have the two of them here, and we could basically just start a colony together. Now you will notice though, when we designate work to be done, like up here, they're not actually going and doing anything like that. Now to my understanding, this is something that maybe the queen won't anyhow, but something they won't really do until they are sentient. Having them be sentient would actually have them start doing some of these tasks. Now you can see that they have sentience. They are going to start mining the granite along with Colin here, who we actually no longer need. Goodbye, Colin. But with sentience, which is part of this mod list, you can actually come through with character editor. You can actually give them the sentience trait here in their health menu. And this is going to make it so that your starting insectoids can go about mining and things like that, which absolutely splendid, absolutely wonderful. They can work just like colonists. They can construct, they can haul, they can mine, they can do anything and everything you want them to do, and you can control them. This isn't really part of the sentience, but you can control their movements with the draftable animals and draft anything. Again, everything's in the mod list, but the best part about this is, say, for example, you wanted to start a hive, you could come down here into the Insectoids menu. You can build anything within this. I've, of course, edited some of my hives personally when they're not edited. The Nuchata's hive, for example, currently manufacturing costs are 150 insect jelly, 50 royal insect jelly. With this reset to default, you'll need one of these pharaoh cores. Now, a basic hive does not require any of these, and you can basically, as long as you're getting jelly, which I would also recommend you start with, you could essentially build as many basic hives as your little heart desires. You can also build the jelly farms, creep, which is what you're going to need to put a jelly farm on, anything and everything that you want. But for example, say we want to build some basic hives here. Once you start spawning spillopedes out of these, this would normally happen naturally, but of course I'm doing it with dev mode just to show you, they will work for the hive without the sentience trait. So they are not sentient, but they can still do things like mining and other things simply because they are linked to the hive itself, which is pretty great. And it kind of carries over into this, actually building up a hive where you can actually control all of your insectoids and get a lot of work done very, very quickly. Another thing to keep in mind is that, when you start like this, you want to make sure that you have all the research that you want unlocked. Personally, I've been doing this with dev mode. When I start on the first day, I get everything ready. This is something you can also set up in scenarios, and I'll show you that as well. But you'll definitely want some stuff like the Hive Tech, Basic Hive Tech, Standard, and Exotic. If you don't end up doing these, you can't do any research. Even sentient insectoids, as great as they are, they can't do human research. It wouldn't make sense, I suppose, so that's why you can't do it. It's a long-term task, and so you also cannot make them do it. You can't set it up in the work tab, as far as I can tell. They can do basically everything a colonist can do, except for things like that. I don't believe they can do social tasks. Pretty straightforward there. But they can do very basic things that you would expect insectoids to do, like a shit ton of mining and building of the hive, like with their walls here. Jelly farms and everything, so you can continue, building more of the hive and also going about birthing new insectoids to take over the world. They're very simple-minded creatures, and honestly, though, it's a very fun way to play because you don't have to worry about mental breaks. You don't have to worry about a lot of different things that you would when dealing with human colonists, of course. I will show you how to set up a scenario real quick, though, where you can actually start with an insectoid. So if you just want to do crash landed, I'm going to remove some of the cryo sickness and all these parts just so it's a little bit easier to see, but you can leave all that if you really wanted to. So over here, you can always add a part, right? So with adding a part, you can come down here, start with research, and then you'll have this huge list of different types of research that you can choose from. In this instance, we'll do basic hive tech. We could even do that over and over if we really wanted to with standard hive tech. We could even do it with exotic hive tech, and we could start with that. We could also start with an animal, and with this animal, it doesn't have to be a random pet. We could choose from any different type of animal, of course. We could do something like a Insectoid princess. We could have as many as we want. We could start with one of them, and we could start with one person. The issue is when you do it this way, and I find it to get in the way, you have to start with a human and you have to change all this, so that's why I don't do that. But you could do your very own scenario like this, and we'll just go right through it and I'll show you exactly as to what this looks like. It's damn near identical. So here we are starting, and now you can see we have an Insectoid princess and we also have a human colonist. Now, again, almost identical to how I showed you earlier, how I do it with the character editor and that sort of thing. Now, you could, instead of doing like a human colonist, you could actually do something which is in this mod list where you could try to be an Insector, a different type of xenotype where you yourself are a bug. If you want to do that, that would basically get rid of the human problem, where you can't research and stuff as well. They're just like people, to my understanding, except the insect people. That could be fun, and realistically, if you're looking for kind of the more standard RimWorld style, but you're also building a hive with a bunch of insects, I would say that this is going to be the way for you to go. This is going to be the best way to do it. It's not how I did it, but that's completely fine. We all do things different ways, right? But that would be how I would recommend doing it, so you get the full RimWorld experience. Alternatively, I would also recommend this because you'll be able to see here when we go to form caravans. We can do this right now because we actually have her as a colonist and Scruffy as our animal, but if I take her out of the equation, you'll notice now we can't send Scruffy because Scruffy is just a poor little animal. Unless we make Scruffy sentient. Now, if Scruffy is sentient, Scruffy should be able to form his very own caravan, or hers, I should say. There, as you can see, Scruffy can form their own caravan now, with the sentient trait. Alternatively, I have noticed that when you actually spawn spellipedes and other insectoids from a hive, even, like, they don't seem to be able to go out for whatever reason. They're not listed in the animals tab. So this is a little bit of an issue. I don't exactly understand what's causing it because you can see down here, they are part of new arrivals. So I don't know what causes that. It doesn't really make sense. And if you're somebody like myself who might want to play initially with character editor and stuff to set it up and dev mode, but not have to use it constantly throughout, it's a little bit impractical. So if you have a giant hive like that, and they're spawning from these hives, you kind of have to leave them at the hive that you've created, unless you mind doing a few different tricks and workarounds with character editor and dev mode, which is most likely what I'm going to be doing in my series as soon as we end up making a caravan with our entire hive. But indeed, that is exactly how you can actually go about playing as an insectoid in RimWorld, whether you want to just start, however, and set it up with character editor and dev mode, or if you want to create your very own scenario like that. I hope that this little brief tutorial kind of helps out with that, and I appreciate you dealing with this video being kind of short and out of the regular schedule. I am currently out of town for a few days, so yeah, I appreciate you being patient with me. I love you guys ever so much. I'll see you next time.